Hello and welcome to Robin Minds. My name is Hero Daniels. Many thanks for joining us. Last week, Nigerians took the heat of the politicians and focused on the drama in the aviation sector. Let me just start by saying that most Nigerians are badly behaved. First, it was Senator Oshomole who allegedly stopped the boarding of passengers because he arrived late. Then, it was Kwam1 versus Value Jet Airlines. Recently, Miss Comforts versus E-Bomb Airlines. The young lady was seen physically assaulting the air hostess. Bad behavior. Now, according to eyewitnesses, the air hostess allegedly triggered her physically and held her back for not switching off her phone at the beginning of the flight. Previous passengers have also talked about that particular air hostess and how unprofessional and badly behaved she is. And instead of the airport officials to be civil about the arrest, they decided to violate her rights to privacy and public dignity, and they put out her privates to the public. Badly behaved officials. She was arrested, and there was an public outcry to get her released since nothing happens to Senator Oshomole and Kwam1. And of course, we all know that she was arrested in an undignified way. No matter what side of the divide you belong to, I think we can all agree on a pattern here. Nigerians are badly behaved, from the people in the power to the citizens. And I think we need to start taking accountability for our actions and do better. Leadership is not just about those in government. Every citizen is a leader in some capacity. The way we lead in our daily lives and the values we uphold. And that leads me to the discourse for today, exploring collective leadership and Nigeria's governance framework. To discuss this with me in the studio is the Chief Vision Officer, Mentorers Leadership Limited, Babs Olugbemi. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Hiro. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So let's really talk about collective leadership. You know, as citizens, what sort of leadership attributes should we display?
Okay, that's a very good starting point. I want to put context to this discussion. We are discussing effective collective leadership and the governance framework in Nigeria. When I think about Nigeria, I see Nigeria as a company that wants to scale up, but that has no structure, that has no policy, that has no leadership preparation for the bigger structure we want to scale up to. So after the amalgamation, the First Republic, we saw leaders that focus on our 4 lines: religion, ethnicity. And immediately after that, the military came over. The military says we cannot negotiate. That's why you hear the slogan, Nigerian unity is non-negotiable. But I'm very happy no one is saying that again. Then we moved to the Second Republic. Military came again, and we have added corruption. We have added personal interest. We have added everything into it. So I want to tell us we are in a democracy, but we are manifesting what I would call kleptocratic oligarchy.
What does that mean?
Yeah, means few people are in governance, and their personal interest is more important to them above the common interest. And they got to a point where they start appointing people around them, and we don't have control over them. Impunity has come into place. And you see, in leadership, when people see you as their ultimate leader, they see you behave in one specific way, they will replicate that behavior. Any behavior that is not punished will be replicated. So let's look at it this way. We have a drama at the airport, and I'm very familiar with that. In 2022, I was speaking at the West Scotland University, and I used a story. A guy got to the airport, he met a very long queue, and he went to the front of the queue and said, please, I want you to check him in. And the air hostess said, no, you need to join the queue. He said, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? Typical Nigerian behavior. Yes. And the air hostess, do you know who I am? I need to be checked into the plane. And the air hostess did what I want all Nigerians to be doing if we have to move this country forward. She picked up the microphone and made an announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a gentleman in my front that doesn't know who he is. If there's anyone in the crowd that can come forward to tell him who he is, we will be very grateful. Do you know what happened? Silence ensued. The guy didn't make any comment any longer. So when we see people that come with positional mindset, we have collective responsibility to hold them accountable. So the starting point is people need to stop being pragmatic followers. We need to be very active in holding our leaders accountable.
Okay, so I like the fact that you said we need to be pragmatic about holding our leaders accountable.
Very correct.
We've seen situations where a leader does something that is very bad to the spectacle of everybody. And as opposed to even criticizing it, you now see some blind followers actually hailing that particular leader. Again, it's easier said than done, but how do you think we can genuinely start holding our leaders accountable?
You see, we have a pattern. Most people want to get to leadership position for the sake of getting to the position. And they'll say, oh, I'm an ex-senator, I'm an ex-president. But the question we should be asking ourselves is, we have given you a leadership position. What have you done with that position? Once we shift our focus from position to legacy, what have you done? We start seeing things from different perspectives. So when a leader does something that is bad, it's part of the impunity I've described here, that Nigerian system, the institution we have built, allows strong men above institutions. So what we should be doing is to be calling out those things and be asking for reform that will change the mindset of our leaders.
Well said. Now, we've seen elections come and go, and we've seen that most often than not, what decides the votes is not necessarily the antecedent of the leader. It is more of or less how much people from the grassroots can he reach out to, and how many votes can he buy. Now, leading up to the 2027 election, we're already seeing patterns play out. Now, how can citizens have a shift from what is deemed to be the norm to actually trying to ask the people asking for our votes, what exactly have you done in the time while you were here? What is your antecedent, and how can we believe you that you're going to do better if you're re-elected?
Good question. I said it somewhere. We have short-term memory in Nigeria. And because we have educational imbalance, it's very possible for our political elite to manipulate themselves. It's high time we began to question the sincerity and the intention of our political elite. Let me give you the example. We are in the 2 years into the term of a president, and we have 2 more years to go. And people came up with a coalition saying we want to replace that person in the next 2 years. What do you think is happening? That will be distraction. People will not focus on governance any longer. So from the grassroots level up to every level, we should stop idealizing our leaders. We should start asking them, you did this, what have you used our resources to do? I met a former governor at a point in time, and I was asking him, what are your legacy? What have you done? And he started telling me how many bridges he has built, even in locations where bridges are not needed. And I told him, you didn't tell me how many people you have improved their capacity. You didn't tell me how many people you have taken out of poverty. So it's the right time for us to now look at how we measure our leaders. Then our leadership selection process is very challenging. You've said it. Somebody who can buy vote, who can manipulate him or herself within the party system and get to that position. So this is the time for us to start the education. We need to educate our people.
Now, you mentioned that it's 2 years before the election and some group of politicians came together and formed a coalition, and you faulted that, right?
Not directly.
Okay, so don't you also think that that could be a move owing to the fact that the ruling party have already started campaigning even before they are supposed to campaign? Are there no INEC rules as to when a political party is allowed to officially launch their campaign? But as it stands now, the APC has launched their campaign for 2027.
It's part of the institutional impunity we have in Nigeria. If anyone violates the law, as long as they are in position of governance, what do you see? The law will close their eyes. Selective application of rule of law. So if they are not leading and the opposition is also doing it, it's a balanced game. That's why I said I'm not directly calling out the opposition, but I'm just saying it's not good for us as citizens. It's a distraction to the government. It's a distraction to what we are trying to achieve as in Nigeria.
So how would you score the present government when it comes to leadership?
Well, 2 sides of the coin. One, the reforms are necessary, and the pains we are passing through are what we should pass through. We have seen countries like Bulgaria that pass through similar reform. But I think, in my opinion, it's one-sided. You and I are bearing the brunt of the reform, but the cost of governance is still as high as it was. It's as if nothing is happening on that side. So how do we balance that? You are, as my leader, you are asking me to make sacrifice. You are not making sacrifice. It's as simple as that. It has to be across borders.
Okay. Now let's talk about your new book, Uplifting Leadership. What's the book about?
Well, I'm trying to change leadership narratives. In Africa, we believe leadership is about position, about control, about a big man that is above institution. But I'm trying to say, no, don't let us look at leadership from the positional aspect of it. Let's look at the service and the legacy leaders create. If you are in a leadership position, it doesn't give you authority and power to treat people unruly and speak to them as if they are your slave. But it gives you a platform for you to feel a need to develop people. And let me give context to this. In Nigeria, we're about 233 million people, and all we say is bad leadership, bad leadership. That means there's a leadership gap. So what I'm bringing to the table with that book is to develop enough leaders to prepare people. Nigerians don't prepare for leadership position. I can tell you that for free. I've been an executive coach for some leaders. You discover that when people get to leadership position, they would feel, with this position, I can do whatever I like. I can do any behavior I like. Well, that's not it. In leadership, people are not hearing what you are saying, but they are seeing what you are doing. And what you do, if it's not in line with an established policy or process, it's going to create problems. So that book is shaping leaders. I don't look at the position, look at the character, the values that a leader should possess to be successful in their position. And okay. I want to tell you this. I've proposed that book should be dedicated to 3 individuals, to Dr. Christopher Kolade, Eda Felix Oyiwere, and Mrs. Ifweko Okaru. Okay. Those 3 people have been in position and they've transformed their institution, they've developed people, and they've left legacy in their various organizations.
Okay, so now let's talk about Nigeria's governance framework. Of course, the center holds so much power, and that's why everybody literally just looks at what the president is doing. However, we have the state governors, we have the local government chairman. How effective has Nigerians' governance structure been, especially when it comes to the impact it has on the grassroots?
It has not been effective. So Nigeria is a diverse country, and if you want to compare it with a country, I would take Indonesia, for example. Indonesia have about 700 plus native languages. Nigeria is about 520. But in Indonesia, as diverse as they have one common language, Bahasa Indonesia, that everybody speaks. And that language is like a service and national language in Indonesia. We have Pidgin English, but we've not normalized it as our national language. Now, if you look at the framework we have, it's a very defective framework. A framework where we come with regional and regional and religious mindset for a national problem. It's not going to work. Now, we need somebody who has an inclusive mindset, who will contribute, who will build bridges in Nigeria. We need leaders that will say, okay, we want the dividend of democracy to get to the grassroots. It's not about, I see the current administration saying we are giving more money to the state and to the local government. But what are the accountability measures we have put in place? If you give more money to the state and to the local government where you know there is massive corruption, what do you think will happen to that money? So we need restructuring.
Do you think that is deliberate? Some people are of the school of thought that this current government is investing heavily in the political structure. So do you think it's deliberate? So the governors have more money, the local government's chairman have more money. Do you think it's more for infrastructure, or is it to enable and secure 2027?
That's why the institutional framework we have is very defective. We have people that are stronger than the institution. Now, if you are giving local government and state governments more money, there should be metrics. There should be what you need to do with those money that will be measured nationally. But that is not in place as far as I know. So whether it is deliberate or not, the fact remains that it's a form of decentralization where local government who are closer to the people have more fun to execute projects. Not only projects. You know, in this country, we focus too much on infrastructure. Yes, there are infrastructure gaps, but we need to develop our people. Imagine China with 1.4 billion population, and you are saying they have population and they are not productive. So if you have population and that population is not productive, is a waste of time. So those money, we should hold the state governors and the local government councillor or chairman accountable for how those money is spent. That's how when we can make progress.
In previous dispensation, the opposition parties have been quite useful in terms of criticizing and holding the government accountable, but it seems like we do not even have opposition parties in Nigeria. Why is that?
Okay, you should fear a man that has never defected to any party and that has built his own party or in coalition with other people and gets to the power. That's a very intelligent and strong personality. Now, this opposition we are having, when I see them speaking, I don't see credible opposition in terms of challenging policy. I see people who will claim they have my interest at heart, but indirectly, they are missing the power, they are missing the position. So credible opposition is lacking. Secondly, you know, Nigeria, we have short-term memories when it comes to holding leaders accountable. So if you are coming to me and you are saying you are an alternative to something, I know we should have alternative. I'm not on any side of the divide, but I should be asking you. I remember you are a state governor at a point. I remember you hold this position. What do you do with that position? Until we began to hold people accountable with what they have used the leadership platform to do in the past, we are joking.
Now, let's now talk about generational leadership. Of course, the generation before us, now the millennials are gradually getting into power. We have the younger generation, which is the Gen Z, and some people believe that this generation, they are bold, and sometimes they overstep boundaries. Like, take, for example, what happened with the young lady, Miss Comfort versus Ibom Airlines, and Kate Henshaw gave her take on Twitter, and a Gen Z person, I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, decided to sort of air her opinion or his opinion, but added insult to it. I think the person tweeted, "Shut up," right? So now, can you talk about this generation in workplaces? Do you like their boldness? And is there a limit to what they can do or what they shouldn't do? Is respect a thing for them?
Okay, I think they will call it Gen Z vibes, right? Vibes is not something that is totally wrong. It's an unrefined energy, and you see a lot of Gen Z demonstrating that. To say somebody should shut up is very disrespectful and dismissive. It shouldn't be tolerated. But when you see Gen Z, especially the leaders among them, showing vibes without values, you will see leaders that are loud, but they are not thick. They don't have the content, and I've seen a lot of that in my work as a leadership coach. They want to be seen everywhere. They want to show their position. They do things that if not even in the interest of their team or organization. Now, what we need to do is to first know that this Gen Z, they have their own characteristic. We should understand them, and having understanding them, we should know that if you empower them, if you respect them, and you channel their energy into the right cause, and you put values into them, because in leadership, where there is no value, there is no leadership. If you hold them accountable that this is the value I want, this is the outcome I want, I know you have this energy, go and get this done for me, they can be channeled into productive venture, and you can see them, they can be bold, fearless, and they can be tech savvy, and they can drive change in Africa.
All right, thank you very much, Babs Olugbemi. Enjoy this session and enjoy the rest of your day. Robbing Mind continues after this break. Stay with us.
Like the way you move,